that session will really focus on three key drivers. The first is to see how a stable and a predictable tax system can help drive the tax revenue base for Kenya, but also other simple ways of expanding the tax base based on a national tax policy that creates the area of stability. And any tax policy has to be predicated on 6 key pillars. The first is that it needs to be fair to the people, so everybody is paying his right burden of tax. The second is that it should be simple, that everybody should be able to understand it. And simple does not mean that it's simple for everybody, but especially at the SME level, is it simple enough not to create a cost burden on the taxpayers while implementing it. The third is really the efficiency of how that money is used and how that money is collected. But more so is the resolution of disputes. And the last part is the transparency of a tax system, that when the money is collected, where is it used? And I think this discussion will focus in all these areas as to how a strong national tax policy will aid taxpayers and bring an efficient, a transparent and an effective tax system. So my own sense is that KRA is actually an implementer of the tax policies. It does not create tax policies, but its role is to really implement the policies. And how does KRA implement the policy in a simple and an effective way? So over the period, the first thing that KRA has done is really trying to simplify the tax procedures and the filing by making them electronic, and now slowly bringing them from a web-based system to a mobile-based system. And that will help anybody to connect and fill their tax returns. The second thing is the adoption of automation and digitization, but at a level that anybody can use it. And while the current system is not as efficient, I think there's a lot being done behind the scenes so that anybody with a basic smartphone is able to file their tax returns effectively. The third is through a taxpayer education, and KRA has been doing a lot of that through webinars, through targeted seminars for taxpayers, through the Taxpayers Week, which is now devolved to a number of counties. And this time the opening day was held in Mombasa for the first time outside the country of Nairobi, and the closing will be held in Nakuru. So it's also reaching out to the taxpayers on the ground and working with the authorities there to ensure that people have access to the tax information. And lastly is that with the complexity and non-compliances, there is also this new tax amnesty which people need to take advantage of. Because what it means that if you have paid your principal tax for any tax that is due until 31st December 2022, your penalties and interest is automatically waived, including cases that are lying in the under the Tax Appeals Tribunal or under High Court or Court of Appeal. If people think that there is a component that can be paid, then there is a very flexible system of how people can come forward and pay their taxes and get their interest and penalties waived. So I think when we look at expansion of tax base, people look at it negatively, okay? But expansion of tax base is really bringing to net the people who want to pay tax but do not have the wherewithal in terms of resources, in terms of understanding to comply with the tax obligations, okay? You will always have some people who don't want to pay tax, but hopefully that is not the target that we are dealing with. And how do we bring these people who want to comply but don't know how to comply into the tax bracket? And I think the tax amnesty is a very key part of it. And that means that anybody who takes advantage of the tax amnesty, if they pay the principal taxes by 31st December 2022, all the payments, all the interest and penalties are automatically waived. And this will help taxpayers in 3 ways. One is that if your principle has been cleared in the iTax and there is only interest and penalty, you don't even have to apply for anything, it will automatically be waived. On the other hand, if you have any principal that is remaining, you can go to KRA, make payments over a period that is allowed under that provision, and then once that payment is made, your interest and penalty is automatically waived. But the third part is also people who are currently disputing the tax assessment, whether they are under the objection stage or TAT or the court of or the appeal stage in High Court or Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. If there is a part that they want to concede, that automatically that concession is accepted and the interest and penalties are waived, and that will make it really easy for people whose ledgers have not been cleaned for a long time because they've applied for waiver of interest and penalties, or they've already settled their cases in TAT and have applied. All these people will automatically have those interest and penalty waived. So it's a really good thing in terms of taking advantage of that amnesty. Okay. The second part is the e-teams, and I think e-teams has two benefits. One is that it is a simple way that you don't need to invest in any technology. If you have a smartphone, you can generate, after registering on the platform, an invoice. But the second part is that it also helps compliant businesses to know that they are actually dealing with another compliant business. Because the problem is that compliant businesses buy things, but when they go to claim input VAT, the supplier has not paid VAT on the other hand. So this will automatically help over a period of time to pre-populate your VAT return, because everything you sell, the output VAT will be recorded. Everything you buy, as soon as the other party declares that invoice in its system, your input VAT will be done. So it's going to be very simple. You pull out that document from e-teams in time to come and see if that agrees with your ledger, and you file it. Okay. So it'll make it easier that there will not be any reconciliation issues. And if there are gaps, then before you file the return, there will be red flags that will help you resolve it. So all these disputes about whether you claim input VAT correctly or not will automatically be resolved by the system, and that will simplify in time to come the cost of compliance.